Oh, Dave, St. Louis is open again, at least the retail side of St. Louis. It opened on Monday, and on Tuesday, I took a walk through the Galleria, the big mall in Richmond Heights, and I was surprised. Half the stores were still closed. Two of the out of the three big department stores were still closed. There were customers in there walking around, but not a heck of a lot of customers. It was noon. I walked down to the food court, and there were, two or three of the restaurant stands were open, but there were hardly any customers, hardly anybody eating. And I thought to myself, wow, it's early. This is one mall, but if this is a sign of something, this retail recovery will be a lot slower than we thought it might be. What do you think?
Well, it will be slow and gradual. People are, obviously still concerned about, about exposure to the virus, and they're going to take precautions as they should be. I think shopping for necessities is one thing. Shopping in the mall for clothing and the like is pretty optional for many people. The question for retailers and for those of us who kind of follow the retail economy, how much of the damage is going to be permanent? We've seen in the last couple of weeks, we've seen 4 major retailers file for bankruptcy, and Pier 1, which was already in bankruptcy, said they're going to close all of their stores. JCPenney is closing 240 stores. I think when we come out of this, there's going to be a lot less retail than there was going into it.
Yeah, and that's it's very sad. If you were on the edge, this pushed you over the edge. Of course, bankruptcy doesn't really mean that all your stores will close. You'll be reorganized. A lot of these big major chains, their mistake was to get very heavily in debt. They were bought by private equity firms, and and the big boys, the private equity firms, were just cooked through this.
That's part of it, but also, the U.S. was just overstored. If you look at international comparisons, like how many square feet of retail space we have per person, the U.S. is way ahead of any other country. Like 30% more than Canada, and more than twice what they have in most developed European countries. For instance, we haven't had a glut of retail space. Online shopping was already making a dent. Amazon was taking customers away from a lot of the traditional chains. That trend was well along, and the coronavirus just accelerated the damage. This pandemic may turn out to be kind of a tipping point for something that was already happening.
Yes, and we still have an unemployment rate that in the St. Louis area may be about 20%. Hopefully that will begin to reduce as we open up. But I'm wondering if we're going to see a bifurcation in shopping styles. As you have this high unemployment rate, I can't see people going back to the more expensive malls, to places like the Galleria. Maybe they will stick with Walmart, which did very well through all this thing. Their sales were up, I think, 10%. Same store sales were up 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you couldn't shop anywhere else but a Walmart or a Target because their competition was closed. And of course, they also had good, strong online and curbside delivery. But will we see the discounters come back a lot quicker than Macy's, for instance? I think so.
Oh, I think you're already seeing that for a couple of reasons. One is that, as you mentioned, Walmart and Target invested heavily in their online operations.
Sure.
They've got order online, pick up at store. They've got delivery from store options. They've invested heavily in technology, and the chains that were burdened with debt and were already struggling, like JCPenney and Neiman Marcus, not able to make that investment, so they fall further behind. You've also got anybody who sells food is doing well through this.
Oh, sure.
Through this crisis. Walmart, as you mentioned, just reported their earnings. They did very well in the first quarter. The supermarkets will be fine. Target will be fine. You're going to have a haves and have-nots, and I think it means that some of the largest retailers, such as Walmart, will probably get bigger, and many smaller ones will struggle or even go out of business.
I've seen some speculation that, obviously we know that malls are closing anyway. Malls are struggling.
Mhm.
But perhaps the decline that you would see over 5 years, normally, perhaps you'll see over the next 2 years this time, more closing, more being sold off and turned into office parks, like we've seen up at Northwest Plaza, which if I were an owner of a REIT, a real estate investment trust, if I were an investor in commercial real estate, certainly retail real estate, I'd be very worried right now.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they've had to. The landlords have had to forego rents in a lot of these malls and strip centers, just because the stores weren't making any revenue, they couldn't pay. And going forward, as stores close, especially the mall anchor stores, one forecaster says 60% of department store anchors in malls will close by the end of next year. So that's a lot of empty space that has to be repurposed. Yeah, I think the play for investors is finding underused malls and redeveloping them, as you said, into mixed use properties that include maybe residential, office, entertainment, and other uses.
And as time goes on, you can buy them very cheap, I would expect.
Definitely, yeah. Even now, I suspect that if any retail properties were to go up for sale, I suspect it's a fire sale price.
So with obviously with the anchor tenants, the big department stores closing, the malls can't survive. And I guess if you're a shopaholic, somebody who really likes to shop, this is really bad news, because the experience will be less, I suppose. If you can't, wander around the mall and mall walk and go in and out here, the shopping will be less fun.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, certainly. And there was a trend to sort of putting entertainment options in malls, theaters and other kind of interactive spaces, for want of a better word, and that those businesses are going to be slow to come back from the pandemic as well. So there's not that is not an answer in the short run, at least. I think the shopping experience is going to be a lot different. A lot of us have learned how to shop online and are comfortable with it now, and like I said, that will probably accelerate the trend that was already going on.
The one good thing for my mall work, almost everybody was wearing masks. All the employees were wearing masks. The vast majority of the shoppers were wearing masks. So one side effect of this will be, when you walk up to the grocery clerk, or the store clerk to hand in your thing, you will mumble. You will have to mumble through the mask, and then that will be part of your experience.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.